Curly hair dolls can definitely be super intimidating. For instance, Miss Yvette over here is known for having a very tricky wig to care for, and if you don't know how to take care of certain types of doll hair, like the curls, that might deter you from wanting to purchase a certain doll, or maybe keep a doll if she's already in your collection. So today I'm going to be showing you my curly girl method for dolls. Now I have an older video on this, but it doesn't work for all hair types. It works for dolls with nylon hair, saran hair, polypropylene hair, the fibers that don't go completely straight in boiling water. Now there are hair types like human grade Kanekalon that you see on American Girl wigs that when you put boiling water on them, they go completely straight. So my other technique won't work for dolls like Miss Yvette. Some dolls have extremely defined ringlets. Like here we have Miss Cecile, who I have not maintained yet, so excuse if she looks a little fuzzy. Some dolls have these very defined ringlets. You'll see this on Sleeping Beauty dolls, for instance, a lot of the time, and this technique works for that as well. So there's two different ways depending on the hair type. So Miss Yvette and Miss Cecile have different care methods, but I'm going to show you how I do care for both of them. And you can also use this on dolls like my Joy Nomi, who is number 111, where she has like hair that you can kind of curl or brush out a bit. I'll link my other video if you're dealing with a doll that has like the nylon hair or the saran hair. If you're looking to fix those curls, I'll put that in the iCards and in the description below. But like I said, this technique is not just for American Girls. You can use it on Sleeping Beauty dolls or anyone that has like these sorts of ringlets. Bear in mind that the fashion doll grade Kanekalon, the really like fluffy stuff, you're gonna have a lot of trouble trying to maintain that hair, because even if you're not using hot water, it naturally just wants to fall and go straight. So you might actually have to recurl that hair, and I do have a tutorial on how you can recurl a doll's hair, which sometimes is really the only option. My Yvette I got brand new, and my Cecile was owned by a collector, so I didn't have to start from scratch. But if you need to start from scratch, if you try this technique and you're not getting really good results because the quality of the hair itself is poor, feel free to follow my curling tutorial, so how to restore the curls back to the hair, starting from scratch. I'll put that below too. Without further ado, let's get to it. I'm starting this tutorial with Yvette. I got her for Christmas as a surprise, and you can see here that her hair is definitely not terrible, because I had just taken her hair out of the wig cap and moved her around a little bit. She hadn't been dressed or redressed, so the quality wasn't as awful as it could be, but even just from an hour of having her opened up, the hair expanded. So this is what she looks like before the treatment. Definitely needing a little bit of maintenance. It looks dull, not very shiny, out of control, and it just kept growing bigger and bigger. And this is Yvette's hair after the treatment. You're about to see it's much longer looking just because it's not as poofy, but her hair is still very, very curly and kinky. It's just more defined, a lot more shiny, and you're going to see that as I move the layers, all of it underneath is very shiny and glossy. Now, it's not like as defined as, say, Cecile's hair, because that's just not how this hair is meant to be, but it's so much more tame and manageable. To fix Yvette's hair, I used dish soap, conditioner, this gel, and a bottle for holding the gel mixture. And the gel mixture, I use this on all my dolls for the record. It helps tame flyaways and add shine. I always use whatever cheap brand of gel I can get in strong hold. I don't do exact measurements, but if you're looking for a rough ratio, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 teaspoons of extra strength gel in an 8-ounce bottle of water, and I'll fill it halfway with warm water, screw the cap back on, cover the tip of course, shake it really, really well, it gets frothy, and then I'll fill it up the rest of the way once I make sure all the gel has dissolved. If you put too little gel, you won't really notice a difference, and if you put too much gel, it'll come out in sticky globs and just make your doll hair sticky and crunchy. This adds shine without crunch, and it adds light hold. I'm starting with rinsing her hair in the hottest water possible I can get from the tap. The hot water is what's going to help minimize frizz. It's not boiling water, obviously, so it isn't going to straighten the hair, but this helps smooth it out enough so the curls have more definition. And I'm using the sprayer, so I'm not really making much contact with it on my hands anyways, so you don't have to worry about like burning your hands. But I also have Raynaud's. I have like a delayed reaction to heat anyways, so my hands can tolerate a lot of it. My doll was new, so I didn't like need to wash her hair for like germs or anything, but it smelled very chemically and there was something kind of crunchy on it, like some sort of product they must have used at the factory. So I used dish soap as shampoo on all my dolls, American Girl, Barbies, whatever. But what I did for a vet, you do not want to like rub this into the hair and massage it, because that will just make it frizz more. So you can see I was sort of just like patting it in, trying to put the least amount of friction onto the curls as possible, and then I made sure to rinse it really, really well afterwards using the sprayer and hot water. I worked the conditioner in the same way as the dish soap, so just kind of patting it in and working it through root to tip. I used a ton because she has a lot of hair, girl needs a lot of conditioning, and I'm not going to rinse it out at this stage. You'll see why in a second. I've sped this part of the footage up because this is a very time-consuming process. As you can see, I am finding each ringlet, which is hard because this type of hair is kinkier. It's not quite as defined as, say, Cecile's type of curls. So I'm just seeing what parts of her wig sort of want to clump together naturally, and then I'm running my hands through each section, coating it evenly in conditioner, using my fingers to detangle any areas I notice that are tangled, and twirling it in the direction it wants to go in and moving it out of my way. And I'm doing this throughout her entire head, which is really time consuming but relaxing. So I recommend just put on an audiobook or some music or listen to a video and just sort of zone out and enjoy yourself and take your time with it. And I have her laying down for this part, but you'll see I move her position because at some point it gets too difficult to keep the hair out of the way that I've twisted. And there are going to be sections of the hair that are kind of matted together. You don't want to rip through this because that's just going to create more frizz and split ends. So you just want to very gently detangle with your fingers anything that's clumped together. And if you need to add more conditioner, as you can see I'm doing here, do it. You can't use too much conditioner. It doesn't matter what brand. I personally use Garnier on my own hair, and that's why my dolls use it. I like the smell of it, and it's really thick, so you don't need as much as with certain other conditioners, but you can use whatever you want. Just note that there are some brands that might leave a white residue if you don't rinse them out thoroughly enough. I've had this problem in the past with like bulk conditioner I used to buy from Sally's Beauty. And I've changed positions, and you can see I'm repeating the process, starting with some of the top pieces, but then also moving to some of the bottom layers. I'm doing small areas at a time and just twisting the hair and trying not to disturb what I twist. And this is really, this part is what you want to take your time doing, because this is ultimately what's going to make the finished product better. Now you'll notice I'm not using any combs. You don't want to comb through this hair type. I made that mistake with my Welly Wishers Kendall doll because she was used and she was kind of dirty and had some lint in her hair, and I was trying to kind of comb out the grime, but it just kind of pulled and dragged out some of the curls, and it didn't really do any smoothing, so it just made her curls look kind of limp in areas. Don't do that. Your fingers do the job. Just take your time. You can see here I'm actually doing detangling because some of it was clumped together. So I have finished twisting all of Yvette's hair. It's not going to look perfect. You're not going to have the same like defined ringlets that you would with Cecile or Gabriella or dolls that have that kind of like corkscrew, very set style. They have a lot of definition. This is supposed to be more of like a natural texture, and the idea is just to tame it and kind of reduce some of the bulk and reduce some of the frizz, but that's like, it's supposed to be a representation of real, you know, like afro type hair, and that's what makes it beautiful. So like the ends aren't always going to look super defined, but there will be a very substantial difference. And once all of the hair has been twisted and sorted out, I take hot water, the same like hottest temperature I can get, and I rinse all the conditioner out, and you can see it's sort of frothing. And then while I'm doing this, I'm really trying not to disturb all of my work. I am like gently squeegeeing some of it out. But again, I'm minimizing any friction I can put on the hair, and having a sprayer really makes this easier. But you can do this running it under the tap. You just have to be a little bit more wary of getting water in the eyes. So I'm doing her whole head as thoroughly as I can, and then I am gonna like squeegee out some of the excess water because I'm gonna gel her in a second, and I don't want too much water, extra water being on her hair and like making it so the gel can't make contact with it. So I'm just gonna gently squeeze out without wringing. I'm not like twisting, I'm just squeezing, kind of like if you have curly hair of your own, like I have wavy hair. I never wring my hair out, I just very gently squeeze the excess out, and that's what I'm doing here with Yvette, while also making sure her hair is placed right. Then you're gonna take your diluted gel and you're gonna go ham. When I say ham, I mean ham. Like, you want to use a lot of this. Especially, make sure to get the underneath side. I forgot to mention too, right before the gelling, when I do my final rinse with water, that's when I switch to the coldest water the tap has, because the coldness will seal in the style. The temperature change between hot and cold is what does that, and that's why like after a regular boil wash you usually run a doll under the cold tap water because it sort of seals everything in. And then I add the gel in a copious amount. I use almost the entire bottle on Yvette because she has so much hair, and then you can see I'm squeegeeing off some of the extra just so she doesn't drip all over the place, making sure the curls are placed in the right position for drying. And then for drying, I had her air dry by the wood stove. Be careful of a fan, it might blow the hair around, and I laid her flat so her hair was hanging off a table. So I thought I'd also add in a little demonstration of a way to make dressing these dolls with really curly hair easier. As my sister is undressing Yvette to wear something else, the best way to do it is to kind of like sit in a way, whether you're on the floor on your knees or like on a chair, and just tilt the doll's head off to the side so the hair is sort of just falling and it's not making contact and creating friction, which leads to frizziness. So you can see here her hair still looks really nice, and it's not difficult to undress her that way. Her belt needs to be loosened from the front. That's what the trouble is.
Why? I'm like, why is she not taking off her clothes?
But that's a little tip to keeping the hair nice. And just a reminder of how this turned out. I have some photos here. You can tell that her hair is still very curly, it's just not growing, and I've had Yvette longer now since recording this part of the video, and I can tell you right now that her hair is not growing exponentially. The diluted gel has really kept its shape and shine, even though we've dressed her a few times and she's been moved around a ton. So I recommend this. So this is my beautiful Gabriella. I got her 3 years ago on eBay from an adult collector. So she didn't have terrible hair by any means when I got her, and I used this technique to fix her hair, back then, but because of dressing her a lot over the years and using her for photos, you can see her curls definitely are a little bit flyaway-ish. And also part of the reason why I wanted to use Gabby and not Cecile, who I've had longer, is I have to take out this hairstyle. The cool thing is this Gabriella, by her previous owner, was taken to the American Girl place in DC, and they had her hair styled, and I just thought that that was so cool. I wanted to keep this in as long as possible, but it was already starting to come out when I got her, and you can see, again, just from being dressed and age, it's coming out, and the elastic looks like it's starting to turn color. So I'm going to show you how to neaten this up. And of course, again, if the quality of the hair is really terrible, like if it's super frizzy, lots of split ends, really dry, you are going to need to boil wash it straight, maybe flat iron it straight, and then put the curls back in. So this is just like maintenance, not making terrible quality hair into perfect looking hair. And this is Gabby's hair after. It is not wet, it's just really shiny, but it is not crunchy. You can see that the hair is still very soft. I just like to use a lot of the diluted gel because not only does it add shine, but it does have some hold, so it'll take longer for her hair to get fuzzy and flyaways. And you can see here what it looks like from the front. And this is where her hair was styled in the waterfall braid, and considering that it was in elastics for that long, it's not got too many bumps. You can't really tell. It's just made her hair a little bit more compact and shiny. So if you want to see how I did this, keep watching. I've had Gabby for so long, I decided just to wash her hair. I used a little bit of dish soap, and just like with a vet, I patted it in. I did not rub it. I didn't massage it because that will, again, create a lot of frizz. It'll separate these really defined curls, and you don't want that. You can also see when I'm trying to squeeze out the excess water, I do it gently. After I rinse her hair thoroughly, I put in a ton of conditioner because it helps with separating the curls. And then this is where it's different from a vet. Because these are very defined curls, I find just using my fingers, it doesn't really pull all of the loose frizzy bits that have fallen out over time back into the curl. So I will take a fine-tooth comb, and starting at the bottom and being very gentle, I will work my way up to the root to smooth it all together, and then I take my fingers like I did with a vet and I twist it, and I repeat this all around her head, which you're going to see I changed positions, and I have her sitting up here just like I did with the vet, and I'm just going through her whole head and just moving the curls out of the way. I mean, you can use clips if you need to in order to secure the hair, but I just find draping it over her shoulder easy, and Gabriella's strung pretty tight so she wasn't slouching. You could also use a doll stand to help you do this. I'm just sort of used to doing them while they're sitting on the counter, and I just figure out where I want the curls to be, and I brush them out and then twist them back. Now, as you saw at the beginning, Gabriella's hair was in this waterfall braid, which was so beautiful, but because of that, the person who styled her hair had grabbed curls from different places and twisted them together, so I had to figure out where they went originally and kind of comb them back into place. So she does have a few little kinks from the elastics, which will hopefully fade over time. And then I rinsed out all the conditioner. I started with warm water because it dissolves the conditioner residue really well, and then switched to cool water to seal in the style like I did with the vet, but the temperature doesn't matter as much here. And then the bottle of diluted gel has returned, although I did have to refill it, make the mixture all over again because I used pretty much the whole bottle on a vet. And I am drizzling this all over her whole head, and then something I'll do is I'll go through and I'll like rake it with my fingers and retwist. I didn't do the whole head because it looked pretty nice, but any of the curls that needed a little extra help, I would rub in more with my fingers. I apologize for the poor lighting. We're in my basement, so I'm using my phone flash, but just for reference on how I dry dolls with curly hair, now it is winter time, so I have the wood stove lit, and the heat from the wood stove helps dry it pretty fast. You can use a fan too, but it might blow curls around and mess it up a bit. This is how I had a vet dry as well. So I thought I'd show you a before of Cecile. I won't go through the whole process, but I'm going to do the same thing I did with Gabby. Again, I got her from a collector on eBay back in 2019, and I did fix her hair when I got her. You can actually see me doing it, I believe, in the video where I opened her. But I've had her for 4.5 years now. She gets dressed a lot, she gets used in photos a lot, so her hair is just a little bit fuzzy, especially on like the top layers from where she gets set down to be dressed. And this is Cecile after getting the same treatment Gabby received. Her hair is also very shiny. Obviously with curly hair, you're always going to have a little bit more texture going through it, especially because American girls have, their hair is not rooted, they have wigs, and with how the wefts are, you can see here like this area looks a little funny because one of these curls is pulling from several different wefts. So I'm also going to show you how to deal with pin curls, which are these little tendrils that go around the face. Now you can use this technique on any doll, not just American girls, but I use this most frequently on American girls. So I'm not, generally speaking, somebody who likes to use straight up undiluted gel on them because it can dry crunchy, and if you've watched a lot of my videos and you know that's like one of my pet peeves. I hate crunchy doll hair. However, these little bits are just very coarse feeling usually. They separate and get kind of frizzy looking. Even like when you use diluted gel, like you can see this side did pretty well with diluted gel, but I just take this same extra strength gel, but I'm not diluting it this time. I'm just going to put a little bit on my fingers, and then just use my fingers to get all the little hairs together. And curl it up around my finger. And then it will dry and it's less likely to get all frizzy again. It just keeps them in place. This is great, especially for like Felicity dolls, Elizabeth, Marie Grace. You can use diluted gel too. You can just like pour it onto your fingers like this. I just find that this holds better on its own, so it's better for these tiny hairs. And so the last thing I'm going to show you is how you can maintain your doll with curly hair on a regular basis. So like just with everyday styling, so you don't like need to condition the doll constantly. That's more of like a deeper, more involved fix. But as you can see, Miss Lainey over here, her hair is, she has really bad hat hair. She was wearing a beanie with this outfit. I actually curled her hair myself because it was in poor quality when I got her, and she's definitely not perfect. These are the before and after photos I took of Lainey for my curl tutorial, and you can see on the left, her before image, her hair was really frizzy and really dry, and that's what I mean about the quality of the hair and how sometimes you just have to start from scratch, and on the right is afterwards. I have many secondhand American Girls, and this technique I'm about to show you is how I mask, not just on American Girls, but I have a lot of secondhand dolls in general, and this is what I do to sort of mask their imperfections when it comes to their hair. So what I like to do, and this is especially true when I'm styling American Girl hair, straight, curly, whatever, I like to use my diluted gel mixture, so it's the same ratio I showed at the beginning with the vet. I use this like a regular hairstyling serum. I put some in my hands, rub it between them, and then I'll like pick the section I want to work in. And on Lainey, she doesn't have like really curly hair like Yvette or Gabriella, so you can use the wire wig brush on a doll like this, and then I will just twist it and reform it, add a little bit more for the next curl. I really like doing this when I braid their hair. Like my Jess doll, she has a lot of like shorter bits that like to come out, so it just keeps it like all together, so when I'm braiding it, it's not poking out. And this is also great because sometimes when I like to style Lainey's hair into ponytails, I merge all of her curls into like 2 sausage rolls, so it'll be like 2 big curls, and this helps smooth them all into one. This diluted gel hack is a lifesaver when it comes to styling any doll's hair, and when I take photos or film videos, this is why my doll's hair looks shiny and neat, because I use this constantly if I'm photographing Barbies, if I'm taking videos of them, American Girls, whatever the case may be. I just put some diluted gel on my hands, run it through my fingers and my palms, and then run it through their hair, and it really makes a difference. It makes styling easier, it dries quickly, and it doesn't leave any kind of like crunchy residue. And then once I've done all of the curls themselves, I will take some and just smooth the top of their heads. And this gives them shiny looking hair, it holds the styles, it makes styling the hair easier, and it kind of masks that dolls like Miss Lainey over here aren't in perfect condition. And her hair is still a little bit damp, but they still dry really quickly, and it doesn't dry crunchy or anything. I found this video helpful. It definitely makes a world of difference on dolls with more difficult to care for hair. Like Miss Yvette is not all just a big poof of curls. You can actually appreciate her adorable face, and you'll see earrings now. I will link all of the similar relevant tutorials down below, and if you're just interested in general hair care, like how to wash it or how to straighten it, etc., feel free to check out my tips and tutorials playlist. And until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.